Hello, I'm Lucas Siegel for Newsarama.com, and we are back with more New York Comic Con 2012 coverage. I am here with the just announced creative team behind The Last of Us. So this is a comic book that is based off of the video game by Neil Druckmann and his team at Naughty Dog, and we have Faith Erin Hicks as well. So why do a Last of Us comic, Neil?
Well, when we were exploring the story, there was so much that we're not even getting into in the game, especially Ellie's backstory. You know, Ellie lives in this post-pandemic world, a world she knew. But when we start the game, she's already teamed up with Joel pretty soon, and they're thrust on this adventure. And we didn't get to explore her day-to-day life. And this story that I've been developing with Faith really gets to kind of see Ellie before she's the kind of character you see in the game that you've seen in the trailers, and you see some of the events that lead her to becoming who she is in the game.
And we just saw the first cover at the panel, and there's another character on that cover. It's not just Ellie, right?
Yeah, there's another character that we started developing for the comic book called Riley. And actually the cool thing has been, because the story isn't done for the game yet, we've actually been able to interweave a lot of these threads from the comic book into the story. So this is canon, this is the backstory, it's a story that stands on its own, but if you read both, you're going to get a greater understanding of who Ellie is.
So now, Faith, you knew about this game already, and you were already excited about it before you landed the gig, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, I'm completely thrilled to be on this project. I'm just incredibly excited. Yeah, I'd seen trailers for The Last of Us before I was hired to do this job. I remember watching the E3 trailer that Naughty Dog showed, and just seeing, you know, that scene with Joel and Ellie going into the house, and, you know, Ellie stabbing the guy in the shoulder with her knife, and just the gorgeous atmosphere of the game. And I remember watching it and just thinking, oh, I would love to do a comic like that. And then a few months later, got an email from Dark Horse, and for my next trick, I wish for $1 million.
So since Neil just said that they're going to be able to interweave some of the stuff from the comic into the game, is that driving you mad with power? Or are you trying to like throw some nice little things in there, inside jokes? And
I think I'll leave the gaming to Neil. I'll let him control that aspect. But I am incredibly thrilled that, you know, Naughty Dog and Neil have decided that this is canon, that, you know, that I can contribute to The Last of Us through this comic. I am a gamer. I love games, and this is, I don't know, it's me at 14 years old. You know, I'm jumping up and down inside. You know, I get to be a part of this game, and I'm absolutely thrilled.
Faith knows the ending. She's read the entire script for the game.
I begged him not to spoil it. I remember he offered initially and, you know, said, can I tell you the ending? And I was like, no, don't tell me the ending. I want to play it. But, you know, I did need to read the script or the script for the whole game in order to familiarize myself with it. And it's good stuff.
It's good stuff. That's all you really need to know. So we know a little bit about Ellie from what we've seen in the trailers and what we've heard about in promotional material. What can you tell us so far about Riley, about her companion for this story?
Well, at the start of the comic book, Ellie is being transferred from one orphanage to another. When you turn 13, you get transferred to kind of like the last stage before you either turn into a soldier or you're released into the general population. So when you're 16, you get drafted in the military in this little quarantine zone. So Ellie, the beginning of the story, it's her first day there. Riley is 15, so she's about to like take this big step. And then Ellie finds herself really drawn to this really strong character. I don't know what to say without spoiling the story.
Yeah. Riley's cool. I don't know. She's like the cool older girl you see in class. You know, and she's someone who's tougher than you. She's cooler than you. She knows the area. She knows the school better than you. She's a cool character. I like her a lot.
And just like with The Last of Us, the game, you know, it's really the story between like Ellie and Joel and that relationship and how they ultimately change each other. This is kind of like the story of Ellie and Riley and the bond that these two characters form and how they affect each other in such a way that by the end of this journey, they're both two different people.
You've done a lot of creator-owned work, Faith, but not a lot of work with licensed characters or other material. What's it been like exploring that and flexing this different muscle in your brain?
It's been really great. I've really enjoyed it. You know, I mean, I was very attracted to the world of The Last of Us initially. You know, I love post-apocalyptic stuff. I love zombies, even though I know they're technically not zombies. So I was, you know, really thrilled to be allowed to basically come into Naughty Dog's sandbox to play. It's a different experience. It's a different type of writing. You know, writing a 22-issue comic is different from writing a graphic novel, but I've really enjoyed the challenge, and I think it's going to turn out really well.
After the success of the Uncharted series, what has it been like striking out and developing a whole nother brand new world? And now you're developing into comics already, like you're going into this transmedia explosion from the beginning. What's that process been like for you?
It's exciting and stressful and scary and fun. I mean, you're like you said, you're building a universe, you're building a world, you're building, like just even talking about this quarantine zone. How does that operate? What is a school like in this quarantine zone? What are checkpoints like? So you're really figuring out these details, and by doing that, then you could just have these characters, and the more you spend time with the characters, the more you have them figured out. The actors bring a lot to the characters. So it's almost like now with this comic book, we could just come up with the scenario, and we could just plop Ellie in there, and she just behaves on her own. Like for me, it's kind of this weird thing where there isn't a lot of writing to do with Ellie anymore. I just kind of hear her in my head. So this is now like this really fun part where it's all starting to come together, and it's all this hard work is coming to fruition.
Now, I know you're a big comic book fan, Neil, and you've actually done some creator-owned work yourself. Is this really just a big excuse just to get yourself back into comics?
Yes. It's pretty awesome. We like every few days, like you go to lunch with a bunch of people from Naughty Dog or something, and we like, how do we get paid to do this? Like we sit around and come up with ideas for a video game or ideas for a comic book, and this is our job. This is what we do on day to day, and it's a lot of hard work, but it's so rewarding. It's so much fun. I hope they let me keep doing this forever.
Finally, Faith, now that you're into this world of video games and comics together, are there any other games that, you know, are personal favorites of yours that you wouldn't mind jumping into? And
Yes. I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil 4. That is my favorite game of all time. Right now, I'm actually in the middle of playing Resident Evil 6, and I am enjoying that nonsense. Oh, Resident Evil, why can't I quit you? Yeah, I actually did all these stupid little Resident Evil 4 fan comics that you can find online if you're interested. But yes, I love that nonsense. What can I say?
And do you have any other of your own work that's coming up that you want to talk about a little bit?
Yes, actually, Dark Horse, again, will be publishing a collection of my webcomics, The Adventures of Superhero Girl, and that will be out in February, I believe. And then I also have a graphic novel being published by First Second Books called Nothing Can Possibly Go Wrong, and that will be out in May of next year. So lots of comics next year.
All right, lots of comics from Faith, lots of reasons to play video games from Neil, and lots more news from New York Comic Con 2012 from us.